Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm so glad you are here. I'm Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital mag for women since 2006. I still pinch myself that I get to do the work I love, spreading a message of love, inspiration, and feminine wisdom. And speaking of love, you know the song, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. Well, today's guest, Bridget Fonger's mission is to help people love and be loved more so they can live their best lives and also make a difference in the world as superheroes of love. Bridget is the author of Superhero of Love, Heal Your Broken Heart and Then Go Save the World. She writes regularly for Thrive Global in various online publications and is the creator of Love Forward Talks, a speaker series whose intention is the same as that of her book, to inspire people to love and be loved. Her Superhero of Love podcast, which I'm so blessed that I got to share space with her recently on that show, it features interviews with people who are in the business of healing and empowering hearts. You'll see that her passionate mission is to have everyone know the superhero of love that has always been inside them. Welcome, my beautiful friend.
Thank you so much. I am so honored and blessed to be with you. Thank you, Linda.
Well, I just love your message, love your vibe. We had such a great time when we connected for me to be on your show, and I'm like, I am so excited to share you with my audience because your personal story of what led to all this is powerful too, as well as the work you're doing now. And Inspired Conversations is all about showing women that your past, your journey is all to prepare you for the work you're doing, meant to do in the world. So let's start there. Bring us back to what unfolded in your life that led to this whole beautiful Superheroes of Love path.
Thank you. Yes. So I was in a really kick-ass place in my life. I felt like I was really powerful, like I had done a lot of work on myself and had scrubbed clean my heart and was ready for love. And I fell in love and had this, what I thought was a beautiful relationship, really fun relationship. We traveled to many places around the globe. We had so much fun. We had intimate times. We had lots of love between us. And then what happened is I found out about a giant lie that he had told me. And in uncovering that lie, what happened is a series of lies came tumbling down, and I realized that he had been lying to me actually the entire time that we had been together. So the juxtaposition of my picture of myself when I first got into that relationship and where I ended, basically like sitting in I felt like I was sitting in a pile of ash, and I had just been burned at the stake, essentially, right, at the end of this, of finding out about all these lies. Like, what was going on with me? What was going on in my heart that this is where I was in a pile of ash, blindsided by all of these lies? Who was I that I was in a relationship with someone who was lying to me like that? And I had to look inside and see that it was, I wanted to blame him. I wanted to have parades throughout the United States.
and out him as the fibber that he was.
Yes. But I really, really luckily very, very soon after that realized that it was not him. That, as Debbie Ford said, I know you love Debbie Ford too. She says
Yes.
always when you're pointing fingers at someone else, look at the other three fingers. Who are they pointing at? And so I very soon I took the shadow process workshop actually right around the time of this breakup. So luckily I landed in her loving arms at that moment and was able to look inside at myself and see what there was that I needed to look at, and it was 100% me, right? So thinking that I was so kick-ass, like this relationship ninja when I first went into this relationship was a little bit of a false perception of myself. And if you're in a relationship with a liar, you have to look at, how intimate do you really want to be? If you're with somebody who's lying, I wasn't lying, but if you're with somebody who doesn't want you to see all of them, then you have to look and say, I had to look at myself and say, I didn't want him to see all of me either.
So he was almost a mirror. Even though the stories were different,
yes,
it helped you see what parts of yourself you were hiding.
Yes. Like I don't want, there were pieces of myself that I thought were ugly or bad or wrong. Oh, I don't want him to see that. So if you're with somebody who, it's like we both had blinders on and we both had our hands closely held over our hearts, right? So even though I wasn't lying per se, I was holding my own heart and I was not seeing, like I should have seen the lies. And I mean, when he would say some of these lies, inside me, something would kind of jerk and go, wait, what just happened? Oh, was that the truth? And then I would ask follow-up questions, and then I would just make it all make sense in my brain. You know what I'm saying?
You didn't want to look at the truth because you loved the life you had and didn't want to rock the boat. Is that okay? I think. Come on, ladies, raise your hands. I think we've all done that at one time.
Yeah, and like you're always saying, right? That I love how you said on my podcast that beautiful thing about that we all have things to teach each other. We all are equally wise because of these experiences that happen to us, and we get to learn from each other. And hopefully my book is a little bit of a roadmap and a guidebook to help people navigate the post-breakup, and or it's not only for breakups, even though the subtitle is Heal Your Broken Heart and Then Go Save the World. It's not only a post-breakup book, but navigating those waters of healing our hearts so that we can love and be loved and be seen fully and not be clutching our hearts through life, open our hearts, etc., and touch each other more openly. And I know that's your passion too. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you clarified that because it isn't just a post-breakup book. To me, it's the journey back to either healing your heart or, in some cases, actually opening it. Because maybe in the work you realize, oh, my God, I've never been able to open my heart to someone.
Right.
Right, and then really how engaged are we in our own lives? And I can relate because I was that person, especially in my 20s and 30s, that I had a protective armor around my heart. I was in long-term relationships, but I look back now and can say, was you really, Lynn? Because I think in their part they felt very loved by me, but I know I was not fully present because I had the protective armor. So your book is about helping us take the hands off the heart, right, and open it up.
Yeah.
And be a superhero of love.
I love what you just said, too. You just gave me a little bit of an aha moment, which is that you think that because you have loving behavior and you are nurturing, etc., you think that's enough. That's it. That's the evidence of my open heart, right? So we have these things that we do really well that we think, oh, that's an indicator of how strong and open and empowered and full my heart is. And yet it's like, there's always, I feel like I will be on this journey until the day I die of, can I open my heart more? Can I love even more? Can I open my heart to be loved even more? I feel like that's a lifelong journey for me.
It's for all of us, though, Bridget. I agree. It's something that we have to keep relearning and redoing every day because the world comes at us fast and hard. And it is almost easier sometimes to close the heart, close portions of it, right?
Yeah.
Our work is to make sure that never happens.
Yeah.
Is to make sure, because something you just said where the actions might be there. I'll share a little story. There was a deep relationship in my life. It was one of those young ones, 17 years old, but we were extremely close. Took off out of state, lived on the beach for a while down in Galveston, Texas. And he was a key relationship in my life, and he was such a good person. And it ended badly because of choices I made. And through the 2.5 years that we were together, it was that beautiful, deep relationship. As I did my healing work, and look, I'm 57, so you're talking about 40 years ago. About 20 years ago, I said, I need to apologize to him. And I found him. I said, I need to say something. I'm just clearing things. And I said, we had such an amazing relationship, and I want to apologize for how it ended and for anything that it caused a wound in you. And now here's our projection of love, right, of what you just said about what we do doesn't matter. And he said, Linda, you were the key relationship in my whole life. I never felt more loved in my life to this day. Now, I carried wounds of what I did and how I ended it. Now, yeah, come on, Christ, I know. I was 17 when I started the relationship, 19 when it ended. But to know that I made choices that caused someone harm, especially someone that I said I loved. So it was and he said, our relationship taught me how to love. So I carried that for 40 years, and I said, but it ended this way. He goes, it ended as it had to end. I knew you needed to be let go of, and I couldn't let go. And I know you did. Now, he said, I know you did what you did to force my hand.
Wow.
Now, see what I mean? I thought I wounded, right? And he felt my love. So my love was there, but what he doesn't know, and I explained to him, is I wasn't 100% in it. So what you felt was not even all of me, because I couldn't give all of me. So I want to share that story because sometimes we love someone, and we know they may feel our love so much, but we know on a soul level that we're not all in, love-wise, right? That we have a barrier around our heart, and we're not going to let someone fully in. Is that what your book is really talking about? Is like that moment where you say, frick it, I'm letting them all in. Or that person. Right. Like, I can't keep this wound. But do you see how that story mirrors? I did love. He felt the love. But I, on a deep personal level, know I was not open fully to love.
Right. And we all just do our best, right? Like at
yes.
that age, at that moment in your life, given your life experience up to that moment, you gave all you could give, I'm sure, right? It's not like any of us are intentionally holding things back. The only reason we ever hold back and clutch our hearts is out of fear. The only reason to put a barrier up is out of fear. So the more things that we can uncover that are triggering the fear and making us clutch our hearts, put the walls up, the better. So that's what my book helps people do. Is there are lots of exercises in the book and bonus exercises even in the back of the book to help you keep uncovering these things that you don't, they might be blind spots. You don't even know that you have a fear about any part of your any dark, shadowy place in your heart that you're unaware of that is causing you fear and causing you to hold back. We're constantly, it's an ever-burgeoning list of things that I've uncovered.
Right. I know that feeling. It's always there. You're like, shoot, I thought I already handled that one.
Oh, my God. Don't you love those? It's like, you've got to be kidding. I have been dealing with that one for 25 years. Really?
Exactly.
You're coming back? Yeah.
And it's a conversation I have with clients because it's not just about love and heart. It's work that you believe you've done. There's another hidden layer that might pop up when you least expect it, and that's...
Yes.
So why don't we jump to break, and then when I come back, I want to talk about, you talk about the 5 superpowers in your book, right? And I want to talk about them because I just was really tapped into them, and I want to know how they came about. So we'll be back in a moment with Bridget Fonger, author of Superhero of Love. We'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Bridget Fonger. She's the author of Superhero of Love, Heal Your Broken Heart, and Then Go Save the World. So in the book, Bridget, you talk about, the 5 superpowers. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about them and how they came to be and how you discovered them?
Mm-hmm. So early on I was talking about that, how I felt like I was a pile of ash it burned at the stake, in essence, at the end of this, upon the discovery of these series of lies, and that I had been in a relationship with a liar. And I very soon after that moment had a vision of myself on this, in the middle of the night, in an empty field, burning, and falling and becoming this pile of ash. And I had this sense that someone came up to me and asked me to stand up, and somehow I gathered the ash into some bit of a form of myself and looked into what I considered, after this vision, a superhero of love. And it was just really a reflection of me. In other words, we all have that superhero of love inside of us. Not any one of us doesn't have it. We all have it. And I stood up, and she looked me in the eye and said, we're going to walk into a more powerful future together, in essence. And over the course of walking into that future and taking back control of this process by saying, This is not about blaming him. This is about looking inside of me at those dark, shadowy places in my heart that I have not shined a light upon. Either I haven't shined enough light upon them or I've never shined light upon them. So over the course of my recovery and healing and empowerment, what I discovered were these 5 superpowers. Super sight, which is being able to see into those shadows and brave the darkness to shine the light. Super hearing, which is even a stronger connection to the truth, to your truth, and also to inner guidance, hearing those voices, hearing the angels, hearing the divine, hearing your highest self. Super humility is the affirmation for that one is my heart is open to the touch of the seen and unseen magnificence in the world. So having that super humility is knowing that there's something greater than oneself. Super self-love, that is the gift of giving and receiving, right? So the gift of giving, the gift of receiving, having that love go in and out, giving and receiving. The affirmation for that is love flows in and out of my heart with ease. And then the final one is super alignment, which is my life supports my connection to the divine, which to me is the source of real flight. When you develop all 5 of these, you're developing them not one after another. You're developing them all at the same time, really, over the course of the journey. But that super alignment, when you know your truth, when you've seen the unseen, when you have the bravery to walk into that dark heart and uncover the jewels that have been waiting for you, and then truly hearing the divine, listening to the divine, walking into the world with the divine at your back, supporting you, that is when you can really fly as a superhero. And I imagine us all flying high as superheroes of love.
I love it. And when you name them, I took it as it isn't just for people, as you shared, with a broken heart or coming out. These are superpowers we all have that we can use in our life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Who doesn't want to love and be loved more? And like you said,
that's what I mean. I was like,
yeah.
like see into the shadows. That's part of our own healing. We have to do that if we want to live a full, authentic, inspired, and connected life.
Yeah, and it, like you said at the top of this episode, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. And we just started a series of talks called What the World Needs Now at my friend Patty Pollier's store, The Shopkeepers in Santa Barbara. We did our first event in July, and we're going to have more of them around the country, What the World Needs Now. And it's sharing our stories of that will touch each other, just like my Love Forward Talk series. That's like talks that are inspiring others to love and be loved. That's the book does it. What the World Needs Now does it, but it's even more important now than ever. Obviously, especially since we're walking into an election season, right, where we can be diametrically opposed politically, but we have to find that love. We have to help our country heal. We have to help the world heal. We have to bring more love into every situation, into our homes, into our communities, into our schools, into our businesses. So,
it's so true, because you can't fight darkness with darkness. Mm-hmm. But when you come with love and light, it illuminates what needs to be healed so the darkness is less. That's what I found in my own life. Right. And everything that you just mentioned is to change the world, we need more light, not more fear.
Yeah.
So let's feed the love, not feed the fears. So what would your number one piece of advice be for someone who is going through a heartache, who is listening right now going, oh, my God, I've experienced what Bridget has, or hey, you don't know my story, this is it, and they're in that dark place, that time when you were down on your knees,
Yeah, definitely. My number one piece of advice is to assemble what I call a love league. Your league, your posse of people that you love and trust. They don't even have to be someone very, very close to you. It could be someone even at work. People that you assemble together to be a part of your transformation. In other words, people that you can depend on to either commit to going to a movie with you once a week, or can I call you if I want to call him? I myself had people in 4 different time zones that I could call right after this breakup because I knew that I did not want to call him. I knew that calling him to yell or express blame or whatever my instincts were right after the breakup, I knew that those were not appropriate for either party, right? So I enlisted women friends. It doesn't have to be women friends, but I enlisted women friends in 4 different time zones so that I could call somebody at all hours of the day and night that would say, no, Bridget, you actually don't need to call him. Why don't you tell me what you would say to him? Or what can we do to redirect your energy? Or what can we do to make your heart feel better? That kind of thing. So in other words, it's the same thing after a death. After a death or any great loss of any kind, our hearts are so heavy, and there's no reason for us to bear the entire weight of our heavy, heavy hearts in those moments. We have people who love us. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. You have people who love you. And we can enlist people to help us carry our heavy hearts. There's just no reason to do it alone. So enlist your love league. That's my biggest prayer for you if you're in pain right now.
I love that. And, what would you say to a person who's so heartsick they don't even want to leave their house? And I remember going through that in my 20s and my family going, Linda, you got to get over this. They'd come in, they'd be like, leave, let's just leave,
Yes, yes.
But I couldn't find my way out of the pain. I didn't have the tools. I think at that time I was in my late 20s. And when we don't have the tools or a love league around us, it can be a scary, sad, dark place. So what would you say?
So 2 things. One is just hold your heart. Just put your hand on your heart. This is just a quick tip. Just put your hand on your heart and just repeat, I am love, I am loved, I am love, I am loved. Because part of the not wanting to re-enter the world is fear of being hurt or having that very tender, wounded heart touched by anyone or anything, right? We feel so profoundly vulnerable, like we don't have skin on, so we don't want to enter the world because we don't want to be touched by anything or anyone. So this mantra of I am love, I am loved can definitely help. The other thing that helped me was a realization that in this moment, right now, on this planet, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people on this globe who are going through exactly what you are going through. It is the human experience to have our hearts broken. And just the recognition that you have brothers and sisters, leagues of brothers and sisters around the globe who are going through what you're going through, somehow that brought me comfort. And then finally another action besides the I am love, I am loved, which is, to me, I use that often. But another action that you can take, one that I took, was I committed to myself to say yes to every invitation to leave my house. And I didn't put a judgment on myself how long I needed to stay at this engagement or, but I made myself, and you can commit to just doing it for 1 week and see how it feels. But I made myself say yes to every invitation to leave my house. And often I would just jet out, go to the thing, and then jet back and get back into bed, because my bed and Cary Grant movies were my safe zone at that moment, feeling that vulnerable. Cary Grant movies, old Cary Grant movies always make me feel good, warm and fluffy inside.
But the thing I'm hearing is you gave yourself permission, and it got you out the door. But I love that you said non-judgment. If you stayed 3 minutes, to me, it was you actually leaving, which is like the big thing, not how long you stayed.
Yes, it was a victory, and then it was like, oh no, very soon after starting this exercise, you will probably realize, oh, it's not so scary being out in the world, and oh, I'm not, naked. I'm not skinless out in the world. My heart is still thriving and full and loves and can be loved, right? So you just quickly realize in just executing the action that you're okay. It is okay.
And it is okay. And one of my mantras when I'm going through anything difficult, and I taught it to I have a 19-year-old grandson and a 7-year-old granddaughter, and when life feels like it's closing in on you, my mantra is, in this moment, all is well. Because in that moment, it is, when you just drop down from your head and your ruminating thoughts.
Yeah.
And moment by moment, it's like, just take one moment at a time. Just take one moment at a time. Because the truth is, in that moment, we're okay. It's when we go in our head in the stories, as you know, that we feed whatever drama, story, fear is living in our head at that moment. So that was beautiful. I love that exercise about just get out there.
Yeah.
It's such an important element. And we want to talk about that and any more juicy little tidbits when we come back from our next break, because sometimes people need something as simple as that exercise to really have something they can grab onto to implement. So thank you, and we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Bridget Fonger of superherooflove.com. Be sure to swing by, learn more about the amazing work she's doing in the world, and, of course, order a copy of her book. We'll be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Experience a homecoming to your heart. In the foreword of Dr. Deborah Riebel's new book, Being Love, How Loving Yourself Creates Ripples of Transformation in Your Relationships and the World, Marcy Shimoff shares, the answer to our inner longing isn't finding love, it's being love. The practices that Dr. Deborah presents in Being Love are keys to opening your heart and receiving your divine birthright as a physical manifestation of love. Her techniques, developed over years of successful private practice with her clients and from her extensive training in multiple disciplines, are accessible, compassionate, and effective. Her message is powerful, and if you allow it, will change your whole life. Order your copy of Being Love today at beinglovebook.com and receive over 45 transformational gifts. Being Love is brought to you by Inspired Living Publishing.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspire Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, and with me today is Bridget Fonger, author of Superhero of Love. So, Bridget, right before the break, you shared, 2 strategies, exercises that people can do when they're in that period of just deep healing and pain and don't want to leave their house. And as I shared, I think when we have exercises or something tangible to do, it gives us like a lifeline to hold on to, and your whole book is filled with them. Are these exercises that you used personally through your own healing?
Absolutely, and exercises that I still use, and I'm actually, during the break, I was flipping through the book going, oh, you know what, I really actually need to do that exercise today.
It never ends, my friend. We're always doing our own work.
Absolutely. One of the things that gets me back on track really nicely is just what I learned it as fire writing is what my teacher in high school called it, fire writing, which is just writing without any judgment of what you're writing or how you're writing or what you're saying. And that grew into writing letters to the angels or to God, or after my father passed away, writing letters to my dad, who I considered an angel and consider an angel. So writing letters to your, whether you are identifying it as a source of divinity, a source greater than yourself, or you don't have a sense of God or angels, and you're just writing it to your highest self, to the love inside of you, writing it to your heart and letting your heart speak back to you. I highly recommend that because it can open up places that you unlock, those little dark places in your heart that you didn't even know were there. So it's like a little bit of a key to those doors that you might want to open. So you could just start with Dear Angels or Dear God or Dear Love, and just ask questions and let it answer back. So it's a way to open your heart, open your mind to new places, new parts of your heart that you haven't given attention to that might need your attention. Or losing someone physically to death, they all have a little piece of they also have a little bit of territory in our hearts. And when we have a loss, those little pieces of our heart, the pain in those little spots is awakened and inflamed. And so our heart feels like it's inflamed because of the current loss, but really it's touching off all these other losses. And speaking to that, our shadow selves, and I can't more highly recommend diving into Debbie Ford's books. Debbie Ford is no longer with us, but her books remain, and her incredible work is in those books, and she has tons of exercises in there, so go find Debbie Ford. But our shadow selves are the pieces of ourselves that remained kind of stuck in those moments when we had something that we couldn't emotionally navigate, such as a great loss. And often we have childhood selves, like my 5-year-old when my parents were first separated, my 7-year-old when my parents divorced. Those are great losses that happened in my life that are triggered by any loss, and they will, I'm sure, until I die. Those losses, those little pieces of my heart, precious pieces of my heart that will always be in my heart, will be touched by losses forever. And yet, and that's okay. That's okay that they're going to be there forever. All we need to do is go back inside and talk to that 5-year-old, talk to that 7-year-old and say, hey, what's going on? Because you don't need a 5-year-old driving the car of your life. You don't need a 7-year-old driving the car of your life. You need somebody who's 16 or above.
Exactly.
So, but if you just go in and talk and say, what do you need? What do you need? What will make you feel better today? And I'm here. I'm an adult. I'm a 57-year-old now, and I can hold your hand, and I can help you navigate this because I have the emotional knowledge and acuity to do that. So here, let me hold your hand. What do you need? What can I give you?
And it's so beautiful because think of it, it's almost like the conversation with fear. That 5-year-old, when life was happening all around her, probably didn't feel heard or validated or was explained things to, so she projected a story onto herself and became that fearful self that you carry, that we all carry along with us. But when you meet her in this conversation that you're having now in the present time, she's feeling loved and heard, etc. And to me, that's powerful. That's just a powerful healing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you're welcome. That's another powerful one. And where is there a place that everyone should start? Like, or does everyone come into the book, read it, because it's about your journey too, so they understand the depth. Is there a place, like a starting point from A to B, or is it something where you intuitively go to what you feel drawn to in the book for exercises in the inner work?
Oh, yeah. So, the book basically, it does. It goes through my journey. Your journey is going to be different. But one thing I do highly recommend is looking at the 5 superpowers. So because just in considering them, you'll see those superpowers in yourself. We all have those 5 superpowers, and it's just about cultivating them and honing them and empowering them even more. And then saboteurs, I call it saboteurs, which is those shadow selves, those 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds that can be driving the car and drive you into a ditch, becoming more aware of those things. So if you can go through the book and become aware of these things in yourself, that'll help you. All along the way, there are exercises at the end of each chapter. There's an exercise that kind of solidifies the lesson in that chapter. And then at the end, there are tons of extra, what I call mighty flame boosters. So your mighty flame is not the flame, is not mighty heart, excuse me. The mighty flame is in your mighty heart. I call it the mighty heart. So those mighty flames are not the crazy flames of right after a breakup, right, when you're feeling like I felt like literally like a kind of like a lunatic, right, like running around that empty field of fire with no water in sight. The mighty flame is that deep, divine flame inside you that we all have, and cultivating that, so I call these exercises mighty flame boosters. There's a ton of those at the end of the book. So, but yeah, you could flip through the book and just see. I love doing that. I've always done that.
I do it too, and
yeah.
I'm a personal spiritual development book geek, and
right.
I read them all the way through, but then sometimes I'm drawn to pull something off the shelf, and I just ask my guides, I'm like, tell me what I need to hear today. Because first I was drawn to the book, and then I just flip the page and go, and it's usually spot on.
Yes.
I love that.
I love print books, and I do a lot of audiobooks just for time's sake these days, and that's one of the things I miss from audiobooks is you can't just open the book up and see where it lands, because I love doing that before I even read a book. Like you open the book and see where does it land. But so maybe I should just do that with the audiobook. Fast forward, just choose something.
Just fast forward and stop the button and go in.
Yeah.
So as we get close to the end of our conversation, I'm curious. In the subtitle it says "Heal Your Broken Heart and then Go Save the World." So for our listeners, what does healing your heart have to do with saving the world?
Well, just imagine that you have the most healed heart, that when you walk out into the world, those old wounds are triggered less and less and less and less and less, so that when you bump up against the world, because we bump up against other hearts all day long, even if we're in our own house, we bump up against the world, we bump up against other people's hearts, just hearing their stories, whether it's on the news or in a newspaper or online, whatever it is, you're bumping up against the world, and your heart is having a reaction to that. Just imagine that the reactions are less and less and less negative, less and less and less triggering, and more and more and more loving. Imagine who you are when you walk out into the world as a heart that is as healed as possible, which means it's as able to love and be loved. Then what you're doing when you walk out of your house is every heart that you bump up against during the course of your day, over and over, bumping up against hearts one after another, you are touching them with that love. And then what do? They turn around and touch another heart, but they've been touched by your love. So the reverberations, the butterfly effect of your healing your own heart is one of healing the world.
Oh, I so get this. And I love this. I call it beams of love, right? Like,
yes.
They don't even know I'm doing it. I taught my granddaughter, and she goes, Amma, can you see it? I go, see what, McKenna? This is when she was 4. She goes, I'm sending beams of love to the we were on a tour bus, to the bus driver, and I go, I can feel it. She goes, you can? I go, yeah. I did it, and I've shared this in the past. A family member went through, custody, which is all the typical stuff.
Right.
But it was a worrisome time. And I said, we will not, and I went there for support. I said, we will not walk into that courthouse with fear. It's a very dense energy in family courts. Yeah. We are not going to feed into the energy. Yeah. We are going, and we high-fived her partner when we saw him outside. So it was not that kind, but when lawyers are involved, they want to make it that kind. Yeah. And so I was just there for support, and I said, we will stay in the high vibration of love and positivity no matter what comes at you. And so I shared the story that I was sitting there sending her ex-partner and his tough lawyer beams of love all day. It took 6 hours, mediation, everything. Wow. Do you know, Bridget? And we stayed in high vibration where they didn't, right?
Wow.
At the end, this is the power of what you just shared, and I want the listeners to, this is just a story of what Bridget just shared and the power of it. At the end of the day, all was said and done. We're standing there with my daughter's partner, and we said, we're so glad this is over, and he was loving and gracious. Our attorney's there. His attorney walks over, the one that was like a pit bull, a female, like a pit bull, and she came over and she says, I have never seen this in my life. No matter what we threw at you, you guys stayed in love. And what the feeling is, she goes, your daughter's going to be an amazing child. And her partner is very different, and he just hugged us. But for the attorney, she saw love personified. Now, the flip side of that is the night before court, we finished picking up the rest of the stuff at their former home. I wrote a love letter to him, not knowing what was going to happen. And I didn't put my signature on the front of the envelope because I was afraid if he recognized my handwriting, he would not open it. Yeah. And I said, I want to thank you. Thank you for blessing us with a granddaughter. Thank you for coming into our lives for the amount of time that you did. And we don't know why things happen, but I want you to know how much your presence in our life meant, and I hope we can raise McKenna with love as a whole united family. That's why he walked into that courthouse with love and was able to high-five us. He felt no judgment and no love, only love. So, Bridget, I'm getting so emotional because what you share in your book epitomizes it of what I experienced live and what that lawyer experienced. It's powerful. let's just be beams of love, because we are connecting with others' hearts. They do freaking feel it.
Yes.
And yeah, so thank you. One, for sharing your wisdom on the show today, but also, two, bringing me back to that moment that I felt beams of love. I felt connectors of hearts, and so did in others.
I got chills. The minute you said beams of love the first time, I got chills throughout my body, and they haven't left me ever all this time telling that story. Thank you so much for bringing tears to my eyes, too. That was gorgeous.
You're welcome. And it's something we can teach our children, too.
Yeah.
And I just visualize light coming out of my heart, bouncing to everyone, and they don't even know I'm doing it. I'm sitting there going, beams of love to you. And I did it all throughout the courthouse, because I could see when someone was hurting and low energy. And so I knew my family was good. I'd send beams of love to them to elevate their vibration. And it works. So, my friend, I have my super Hero of Love cape on, too. And I am so blessed that our paths crossed, and I'm part of getting your message and your work out to the world. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much. So much love, and thank you for the beams of love. I love that.
Oh, you're welcome. Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.